Thanks. Can everybody hear me? Everybody back in the back, can y'all hear me? Listen, thank you. This is probably what our fourth year together to do this annual wrestling training. It's a lot of fun for me because y'all's industry is so unique. You know, I'm real heavy into construction, work a lot with Alabama Builders and Contractors Association, and so it's just a pleasure to be back here. This year, we're going to kind of expand it out a little bit and not hit just so much on harassment and housing, but also just some civility training. You know, that's what we're seeing. I mean, I'm seeing it. You know, it's hard to communicate maybe with some younger people. I find anyone else have that issue, just two of us. Okay. We're the ones with the gray hair too. But anyway, we're going to talk about all of that, and I hope we have fun and learn something. I heard that Gary Harrelson spoke this morning. Was he not outstanding? Yeah, give a great. Gary has been at DCH, I think, for 200 years now. He is outstanding. He does professional development. He's one of the most understated and nicest speakers I've come across. And I always learn something from him. So I'm hoping, Amanda, do y'all tape it? Because I'd love to see Gary's presentation sometime.
Yeah, it should be recorded.
Oh, yeah, I mean, he really just does such a good job. And it's just an aside, I was telling someone that my wife and I are going out of town tomorrow for 3 days. And we just got a new puppy. And Gary's wife is puppy sitting for us. Isn't that awesome? So yeah, Gary will be playing with a big ball of fluff here for the next 3 or 4 days. So, but anyway, thank y'all. And I'm glad to be here. Let's just kind of get in and talk about what I want to cover for the, what is it, 3 hours? 4? Okay. Yeah, of course, we've got to do our annual harassment recovery. That is, I'm going to give y'all some real life examples, and I think it's going to kind of blow your mind. But anyway, we've got to do that, and it's very important without understanding what our obligations are, not only as employers, but also co-employees. Okay, it's really important. I'm going to touch on fair housing discrimination, something I'm seeing all the time, that emotional support. I mean, we're going to try and pass out puppy off. Okay. So that's a big thing that you have to deal with. They go over some real Alabama cases and some professional workplace standards. You know, maybe some things to say or maybe some things not to say. But let's just jump on in right now. You know, here are the 4 things that generally govern our lives from a legal, compliance standpoint that we need to be aware of. Of course, federal fair housing laws and Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Alabama has its own fair housing law. We're going to make reference to some federal cases that have come out, and we're in what's called the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals in Alabama. The nation's divided up into 12 circuits, and we're in what's called the 11th Circuit with Georgia and Florida. And we're going to talk about some recent cases that have come out. Okay, if anyone does not understand what our company's policy is about harassment and retaliation, it is a zero. If we see it, we need to stop. There's really no excusing the kind of behaviors that we're going to be talking about today. It's really important that compliance is a team effort. I mean, we can't just count on someone else. Oh, well, someone else probably knows, or maybe someone's going to take care of it. We've got to know. When we see it or we smell it, got to put a stop to it. And we got to protect our brand. We have a great brand out there, so we want to protect it. And plus, above all, we all, everybody in here, you're like, you have to work. So we want to have a nice, safe, and productive place where we can work free of this kind of mess. So let's just start, the basic, 101, what is harassment? The courts define it as any unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature that unreasonably interferes with your work. I mean, that's it, just plain and simple. Related to sex, age discrimination, conduct based on age, that's unwelcome and unreasonably interferes with work. Same concept. Generally, isolated kind of comments or actions don't work. Usually it's a pattern. It's something we call, does it become severe or pervasive? And does it impact some part of your work? Like, did it happen at work? Like, those are kind of the elements that we need to look at. How does it impact some aspect of your work? Well, it can happen at work. It can be after hours in the complex. It can be things like abrupt changes in job duties. Okay, something like this, some kind of retaliation. A lot of times we talk about physical harassment, and we all know that the unwanted touching, we know that. What about visual harassment? Offensive posters or stickers on the hat, offensive shirts, inappropriate emails. Okay, I'm going to be talking about emails in just a little bit. Offensive slogans on your hat. Grab a lot of them. That's not. Sometimes, messaging can get kind of offensive, and text message on shirts also. So, when does it cross the line from just routine annoying to when it becomes what the court calls severe or pervasive? It's not hand. A lot of people think it's both, but it can be severe, like one really bad, like a very unwanted. Okay, something like that. You don't have that 25. But then it can be a pattern of small actions, and that's when it becomes severe or it's pervasive. There was a recent case out of the Alabama courts that happened in Birmingham where there was a saleswoman who was there 20 years, and it was just a raucous work environment. There was comments made going on all the time. One of the bosses tried to pull a female onto his lap. He tried to give her a kiss. Okay. Come on. And this is recent. I'm not talking, okay, this happened with them all, as we were all trying to work our way through the fog, whether it's not prohibited. No, this was just very recent. There's another case that I have right now that I'm going to talk about a little bit today because it's one I've kind of lived with for 2 years now. Had a male supervisor who was just infatuated with this female hourly. Infatuated. They worked outside, so he made her ride with him, work partners, this kind of stuff. He gave gifts to her, all the clothes and all this kind of stuff. So, okay, he's going along and getting along, right? So they start texting in that suite. They start texting. And first of them are work. Hey, you gonna be in? We're gonna start at 5 a.m. Sorry, would you whatever. Then it kind of, went into another area about him wanting to marry her. But maybe wanting to have sex with her, overtly in text messages. Sent dirty pictures to her. She said, "Oh, okay, thank you. This is the real case I'm trying to defend. That's what I'm hoping the jury's going to. One of them was of a can of Vienna sausage, she said, and they'll say his name's Billy. Hey, Billy, is this you? What? It's a can of Vienna sausage. You're not buying? I'm not going to ask you what you think. Isn't it great? So anyway, she goes on with this, will you marry me? He says that her name's Susie. I just need okay? It's male supervisor, female hourly subordinate, okay? They really text a lot. And, I brought this box for a reason. I'm not sure. Greg, I may need you to help me carry this. We got a forensic expert Says, yeah, let me have her phone. He's got the phone. He had deleted all of his. Hey, guys, you hear that? He would print it out. It's 1,410 pages. That's not 1,400 texts. See how many on these things? 10,700. It's over like 17 months. I've not done the math to see how many a day, but they're not good. They're not good. I mean, and employees and supervisors shouldn't be engaging in personal texting for that long of a time period. But what I'm looking for as an attorney is, because I'm the nerd in the firm, I had to read all 1,410 pages of text, and I'm looking for one word. Who said it? Give her another bug or something. Yeah, okay. And we're going to talk about the importance of that, because that's why we stress training, and we have a written policy to be sure that everybody knows what's prohibited. Can you complain, and what? Who do you complain to? Okay, so that's the importance of this. This is not a good case to defend. I'm a defense attorney, and so surely you complain. Surely you didn't send this picture of a can of Vienna sausages and say, hey, is this you? Surely you didn't. So we'll see. It's, hopefully we'll get a judge who will kind of agree with us. But that's kind of where we need to be. So yeah, let's get into it. Does Morrow have a policy? Is anybody even questioning? Yeah, we do. It's in writing, and we should have. In our policy, we define what prohibited workplace harassment is. It can be verbal, it can be physical, it can be emails and, 10,700 texts after hours. Okay? It can be all of that. So we know what it is, we know how to identify it, we give examples, but then the most important thing, how to report it, that you can report it, and who you need to report it to. Okay, so that's the very important thing. That's why we're doing this training. Do we train on it? Anybody ever did harassment training? I know you have every year for the last 3 or 4 years. So, and this is why. It's not just, hey, this would be a cool topic. I mean, we're doing what the law requires us to do. It's things we all know about. Okay, so if it happened, we don't wait 17 months. Okay, so that's why we're doing this. And that's this case in a microcosm, in that little biker's box there, is the reason why we do it. We don't permit it. We don't care if it's by us or by residents or by family members or district. We're going to stop it. Okay, so, that is our policy. But the key is, it's got to be reported. I can't tell you what's going on in the building 30 miles. I just can't do it. We got to talk, and people have to know how to complain and who to complain to. Because that's really critical. What about if we're aware of it? How many here are supervisor, manager? Ooh, a lot of you. Ooh. Well, if she's not going to complain, is that okay? No. Man, if we're aware of it, we are legally on notice. And I'm telling you, in a deposition, what's your name? Oh, yeah, maybe. Well, Janine, Well, now, you know. Hell, you, and you're looking for all of it. Yeah, you report, no, I didn't. Wow, she told me to keep it quiet. I mean, I've had that before, and to me, that's a crime. If I'm sharing it with you, don't get fired, because hey, man, said, look, I'm going to HR. Do you want to go with me? Because this is something I did that training you had over. Not Gary, no, not Gary. And he said, if I'm on notice, I got no choice but to do it. Okay, so again, that's where we need to be. Okay, silence is consent to it, and we're not going to do it. I've had this phrase I've used for 30 years. You can take one breath for you. You need to catch your breath. Okay, but just remember that, look, I got no choice. I've got to go to HR. Okay, do you want to go with me? That's the way to handle this. Okay, we're on notice of it. What are we going to do? Say, hey, Amanda, I'm going to let you know this is going on. Good luck with that. No, we've got to do it to investigate. I assure you, once we're all on notice of it, we're going to do it. We're going to do it promptly. Okay, it's not going to be just a go through the motions. Wait, there's nothing to this thing. We're not going to prejudge. We're not going to do that. We're going to go. We're going to talk to the employees. We're going to ask what questions. We're going to say things like, hey, were there any text messages? You got any emails? You got any photographs you sent to each other? We're going to go through that whole process and then put it all together, talk to witnesses. Certainly, we're going to talk to the alleged offender. It's an allegation. Of course, my guy was all over the place, but the thing is, we're going to take it seriously. Then, after the investigation, what are we going to do? Whether we concluded yes or no, there's nothing to do. Always get back to you. You know what it sounds like in court saying, what's your name?
Sarah.
Sarah. Isn't she friendly? She got this friendly face here. Well, Sarah, didn't you complain about harassment on January 1? Well, Sarah, did the company ever get back to you? You know that jury's going to do it. Yeah. I mean, we've got to. Whether we find merit to it or not, say, look, thanks for bringing it to our attention. It appears that so-and-so, had let us know if it happened again. Okay? Always get back to the employee or the person who's complaining. Never want to go to court and say we never got back to the employee. And harassment is one of the reasons a lot of employees leave. They just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with it. So it helps your retention when you investigate it. What I always also recommend you do, Sarah, after this goes on, I want the company to come back to you and that trigger me. Hey, everything going on? Everything cool? Good. Hey, thanks. Something that simple, but then everything taking it seriously. Okay. Then managers, what do we do? We don't know. March. What is it today? 16. 18, man, I'm too days on that. From my wife, and we're going out of town. March 18th, after everything's okay, just to show follow up and to show that we address things. Okay, we know on-duty behavior, that's absolutely prohibited. What about off-duty conduct? You're away somewhere, after work gatherings, social media posts, well, I've already given that away in texting. What about all of that? Are those prohibited too? Or does it have to be at work? Does it have to be this? No, it could be, social media, unfortunately, is where it's at. So even if it's after work. This is something I'm really low tech. I'm sure a lot of y'all can tell that. And we talked about this last year, but there are certain emojis that have two meanings. I'm showing you some of them, like an eggplant or a peach. And I would say, well, you have a nice phone, or you went further. That's how cool I am. When you can make a casserole with that? You know, I have heard some people that don't mean it. Okay? And I think everybody in the room knows except for me. But certainly those kind of emoji, the kissy faces, even, I mean, it's innocuous as the kissy face, or probably not designed for workplace communication. Okay, so again, we've gotten to a point where we're all so comfortable with texting that we just do this without thinking about it, but we need to work email. We need to be sure, take care of things, you know, I mean, you just gotta think about it. And whatever the eggplant and peach are supposed to mean, don't use those at workplace. Now, so any questions about just workplace sexual harassment? I mean, I think we're all pretty educated on it now. If it's any form, it's not just the traditional, you grab someone and start smacking them. But, you know, it can be text, it can be email, it can be photograph, it can be comments, it can be notes left on the card or computer windows. Here are some of the most frequently cited ones. Race, sex, age, disability, religion. What is the most, and there's a copy of an EEOC charge. And see, there the ground, race, color, sex, religion, color, national origin, disability, genetic information, or retaliation. Which of those do you think is the number one checkbox? Yeah, race traditionally, this law was passed in 64, became effective in 1965. For the first 45 years, it wasn't. You know what it is today? Retaliation. How about that? That was a really rough shift about policy, because that is the number one box. Isn't that interesting? Retaliation is adverse actions after someone's complained about harassment or discrimination on one of those forms. Being a whistleblower, we got to avoid that at all costs. But retaliation is different, and I'm going to do a little exercise. This is a real case. Well, an employee that one of my logistics suppliers in Banff, to a certain auto manufacturer in Banff, he was working, hourly employee on the line. They had the major international auto producer had a male supervisor who his department was way over there, but he points comes saying, "Give Sarah over." Aren't you glad you sat on the front? No one sits on the front row. Did no one tell you? They said, "Gosh, you look good. How you doing?" And he had no business being there. His was over there. So anyway, you look good, like your hair, like this, like that. Well, she gets annoyed. She goes to Europe, who is the logistics supplier. Says, "Hey, this guy from this international auto manufacturer is giving me a rough time. He's over here all the time." They say, "Hey, look, this deep citizen. That's our number one time. Deep citizen." Well, it continued. And then Sarah complains to that international auto manufacturer. And so the international auto manufacturer, I can't identify them. I don't think you know who it is. Can't identify them. They give the logistics, my client a call and said, "Hey, we've received a complaint from one of your employees, our supervisor is harassing you on the line. We're going to address it with our supervisor. You need to address it with your employee. That's your employee." So my client, unbeknownst to me, calls Sarah and says, "Sarah, did you complain to this international auto supplier?" And my client said, "Well, you're fired." Okay, So I'm asking you two questions, you're on the jury. Okay, were those compliments sexual harassment? Who thinks yes? I want you on my jury. Who says it's not? We haven't gotten there yet. It's not severe and pervasive. I mean, reasonable minds can differ on that. I like that too. I like that. Now, question two. Was she fired because she complained about harassment? Juries are experts on retaliation. They can see it and smell it a mile away. That's why retaliation is the number one checkbox. Because everyone can say, "What was it? Was it really because of your religion? Was it because of this?" Reasonable minds can differ. I mean, does it take one touch or three? Reasonable minds can differ. Retaliation. In fact, everybody in the room. So that's why it's the number one thing. We know it when we see it. I mean, it can run the gamut. It can be termination. Okay. It can be worst job assignment. It can get that promotion. Yeah, you're number one. It can be subtle. It can just be. It can be denial of them, excluded from me all of a sudden. You see what I mean? So again, everybody in the group, we're experts in it. We are. We know we can smell it a mile away. And again, any adverse action that takes place within real close proximity of your complaint, that's what retaliation is all about. The federal courts now have gotten very loose with what it takes for us to win a case. We used to have to follow this three standard shifting burden of proof thing. Now courts said, no, if you present a convincing mosaic, maybe you can get it in front of a jury. So I'm like, what does that mean? Well, I won't take Lucy here. I like proof. I like proof. And again, this convincing mosaic says it's subtle changes in treatment, like I said, differences in treatment from how you were, changing reasons for your action. Well, we fired for attendance. Well, no, it was really because of changing reasons to explain. Okay. Not following the disciplinary procedure. Okay, well, I was late once and I was fired. Well, this guy, he's got 7. So again, supervising the key, your takeaway is be consistent. Yeah. I like y'all. I like y'all. Okay. I mean, it's something that's where we are. That's where we are right now. If we see it, can we just avoid it? Hope it goes away? No. Look, we're our brother's keeper. If we see it, we've got to. It's for everyone's safety. Again, they're the protected classes. So any questions about harassment? In the 3 hours I have. Okay. Emotional support. Y'all have that up yet? Has anyone not had it? It's tough. There are technically 2 kind of recognized levels of assisted steps, and one is, of course, the trained animals, service animals. But what I see 99% of the time are emotional support animals. These animals, they're not pets. I'm dealing with one right now, a situation right now where I'm convinced it's this woman's pet. I'm just convinced. I'm going through the process. I'm going to let it play out. But again, the Fair Housing Authority and the ADA say, look, service animals, emotional support animals, they are legal assisted animals, like a wheelchair. Okay, so we can't jump to conclusions when we're looking at this. I think we've gotten past this, the no pets apartments. We used to have those, can't have them now. And HUD, of course, says you can't have, you've got to make an exception to no pet policies and no size and weight limits. And this is one of the most difficult things that we face is that they are typically getting emotional support animals for unseen disabilities. Unseen. What is an open and obvious disability? You know, I'm in a wheelchair, I can't walk fast, I can't climb. But this is what we're dealing with. PTSD, depression, anxiety, mental health affections. I've got a situation right now for a residential facility, a behavioral health client, and someone wants to bring their emotional support animal to work with them. And we're having a real people at the time deciding how to request an accommodation. Because these people are in the home because they had drug or criminal problems. And if they leave the program for any reason, this is a one chance. And so we're trying to decide, can we take a chance and let this woman bring her pet and it may scare the resident and she leaves the program without permission? I mean, it's a tough one. It really is. We actually had one one employee come in and saw the dog, and the dog was big, and she got scared, but I'm not working with that dog when she left. That could be a compliance issue. You see, this is real stuff. So these are tough decisions to make when we get these requests. I mean, it's not as simple as you think. So anyway, just give that some thought, because don't have the knee jerk, no, you can't bring Fluffy, you know. And people now, they're so smart, they get on the internet and get the letter. Have y'all seen the letter? Yeah, this letter was from a psychiatrist. You didn't even what stage. So, you see what I mean? I mean, it's that simple, but we can't just like, oh, she didn't look for a doctor. You got to get into it. So again, we've got to make reasonable accommodations. That can be rule and policy changes for equal employment opportunity and enjoyment. So when someone brings in, say, they make a request for some accommodation in the apartment complex, or they want an emotional support animal or service animal, we can't just say no. We need to engage what's called an interactive process with them. And it's an interactive process. It's not a monologue. It's a dialogue. They tell me why you do this. What specifically is the animal trained to help you with? Okay. How long have you had it? How long do you anticipate needing this? Okay. So again, explore alternatives, but just don't say no. And you just got to engage in a good faith dialogue. Yeah, we don't, no diagnosis is typically required. It's just a verification of the need. So, anybody have any questions about emotional support or service animals in here? Y'all pretty much, you got them pretty well in tune.
Yeah, we had a fair house.
Well, why didn't you tell me that? I guess I would she says. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Because I'm telling you, it's hard to be good complaining. It's like they're effectively saying, oh, that dog's 80 pounds. Okay? I mean, I love Woody. Woody got him. I tell you, we're having Gary Harrison's wife take care of him. And it is a mini Bernie Doodle. Y'all ever say, I'll be glad to see you. He is so stinking cute. She's 7 months old. But I'm beginning to wonder if she's growing a mini Bernie Doodle. She is 30 pounds already in 7 or 8 months. But anyway, again, just going through some cases. These are real cases that people have litigated. One right here out of Florida. I was shocked at that low settlement, $9,700. That's nothing. But they threatened a tenant eviction for having an emotional support animal at a unit. They denied the tenant's request to live with an assistance animal, threatening. And so, anyway, HUD brought that lawsuit, they settled it for like 10,000. And the settlement included an assistance animal policy as a reasonable accommodation for all of their property. So again, y'all just need to be aware, someone says, hey, we get an animal, we get this function, let's just be prepared for that. Construction standards. Boy, look at this in 2023. We do a great job of it here, but here's a home building company up in Madison. And see a lawsuit filed 2.5 years ago under the Fair Housing Act for not following accessibility. You know, ramps have to be a certain angle, and they weren't. The doorways were too narrow, inaccessible slopes. I mean, they were non-compliant. So that's not going to end well for that company. Maintenance professionalism. You know, we just got to be professional. Remember about emotional support animals. They're in medical tools. Let's not necessarily have them and feed them. I've learned to say, you know, that's good food because you never know when you might your hand off or it's going to fight back.
Support. It's been there for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
But the mother was walking the dog. It's a pretty good sized dog. And the dog got loose and bit a child. So we had, and they have to get off the property because they can't attack children. And I hope it did worse than anything. Because, you know, normally the dog was not aggressive, but it got out and it bit. And it took it to the hospital. So just, that's what I did. I have to have it.
I mean, those are the things that you can't have that. Okay, document log. You know, my wife is a nurse. On day one of nursing school, they tell us, if you didn't document it, you didn't do it. If you draw blood, you take blood pressure, they show you the paperwork, they didn't document it. And so again, just words to live by, document, document, document. Be specific. When you engage in the interactive dialogue, inventory, or any other need, they document as you go along. Monday the 13th, I had with the tenant in Unit 3A. We discussed this. Here's the accommodation you agree. It'll be a lifesaver. Okay, now, in thing we never want to say. Okay, I need a dog to do it tonight. Is that a real disability? Come on. Come on. You haven't put in the statistics, how many people have anxiety? 90% of people are saying, yeah, it is. So don't ask. Now here's a tough one. We're not going to allow that breed here. I'm sorry. Okay. Is this animal can be restrained at all times? One breed, not going to lunge at people. Okay. Yeah, we can't just and if the breed's a mini furniture, we're going to say no. You can say no to that, because they will love you to death. Say, oh, you're too young for that. You can't have a furniture. What happened to you? Don't make medical judgments about it. Well, look, hey, maybe you'd like this already. What are we basing on that? Maybe it has an elevator, maybe, I don't think it's what it is. Yeah, why don't we just make meetings, we'll put you all over that group. Things you never need to say. And of course, it ain't even great, it might get there. But I didn't get sensitive. That is just a joke. I was just joking. There are a lot of jokesters and, you know, that's what a lot of lawsuits come from. Joking, really. Well, what are those other 1,300 people? You know, we were just joking. So again, not that. Okay, and then pause on that, Alan. Everything to do with it. I'm not like that for some people. Don't do that. You got that pretty good fine under there. You're fine. Him, Matt, he's just a touchy guy. Don't let that down. He's not. Give us an hour. Does that surprise anyone here? No. Yeah, crazy, touchy feeling, that thing went out years ago. Number 9. Yeah, that's acknowledging condition and not want. Yeah, just be cautious about these things. You really want to report that? Exactly correct. Potential retaliation. Better late. And don't stay there. All right, well, let's go back through real quick our Hall of Fame. I think I touched on this guy. He's just legendary. You remember that in Coleman? Kind of had this marina, you know, harassed 12 women sexually. This kind of guy, we talked about him last year. He was fined almost $400,000. A permanent industry. They keep him out of that industry. You can't lease units anymore for the rest of your life. There he is right there. I don't know why that just intrigues me so much. I mean, I guess it's just so bad, you know, taking advantage of people. Okay, Madison, Alabama, mandatory construction retrofitting case. It was done to accessibility standards. I mean, you don't want to build it and then have to redo it. Why don't we have it in terms of sloping, doorway, wheelchair turnaround space? I mean, get that done on the front. Racial steering. There was one in Ashland, Alabama. I've read a lot of housing. Thank goodness they know how to steering units, steering residents to units based on grade. We don't learn over 23 tenants. That's terrible. They had to post a consent decree that racial steering is patently unlawful, destabilizes community, fuels racial tensions, and perpetuates modern day racial segregation. So that is not to be done. Redlining, that's based on mortgage companies giving higher rates to minorities. So anyway, just be sure that we follow the rules, report standards, report the violations of standards, and some laws do include individual liability. I mean, it's not just the company. But again, if somebody wants to spray into those waters and make these kind of comments, do that kind of activity, just know it could be on you. So anyway, that's it. That's the wild, wonderful world of harassment and housing. Has anybody got any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I just wait. She got a last woman, two service dogs. And the reason why was because that was raised together. They were both, they have a dog in the little good. And we were going to Walmart in South Carolina. And evidently this young lady was just working there, is, I guess, doctor inside and everything. And she asked my friend,
or those little service dogs. Wow. These are, players. Okay, even they were sitting there, like my guy, and, the guy walked up and he said, excuse me, no, that's close. And to the boy, that's what you cannot have someone that is concerned with dog. Big dog had on the jackets and the big ones. We got children together, and then I have the place to tell our kids there. And she told us the patient, she had no problem with the children pet dog. But if they saw the dog with the things, with the handle.
Oh, yeah.
Not because if they were, the woman was having a bad day, she was having a bad day, and they could hit that. And they, and I said, that's true, they used to close at Walmart, but one going after that, really.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody can hear that, but it one who had two, both labs, and then, in the Walmart, and, yeah, it's really neat inspection. And that's why I always ask, I've learned to say, hey, you mind if I pet? But I know not with the service. They are typically the one who will have best son, and they identify as a service animals. They certainly never do that. I mean, we want to, but we just have, we're not. They're good service. So that's a distinction that helps people remember it. Just know. I mean, they're true, so I'm saying. All right, any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Yep. Yep. Well, I mean, they're entitled to rely on them. What I did, I tell you what, there was no things of secret. So I know she brought all kinds of, so I'm doing it, but I bet you can be out. But it can be, so we're going to let her use it. But again, it is a dialogue. It's not just for monologue. Okay, and I encourage you just to follow up and get as much additional information as you can. You know, in the situation I was telling you about, we benefited someone that, you know, was working for us 2 or 3 nights a week, an 8-hour shift, and she was also going to the university. And so she said, well, the people at the university let me bring it to school, so that's not a problem. And so we had our interactive dialogue with, and we came up with 2 proposed accommodations. One was that, well, okay, well, first of all, we kept asking questions. That's the list of questions that, you know, do you need the emotional support animal? Because it's emotional support. It is not a service. They asked for training records. He said he has 200 hours of training. Then we go training. It was emotional support, which is fine. Those can't. And so she was staying over, and sometimes from her 8-hour shift, she'd work at 11 or a 14-hour shift sometimes. And so we were trying to shift, oh, no, I only need the emotional support animal activate if I'm working on 8 hours. And so Greg, being the person I am, said, well, you know what's interesting? We have a full-time job for 8 hours in patient assist, the job you're in now. It will come within, no, I don't want that job. So didn't we make 2 reasonable accommodations? It doesn't have to be the one they want, it has to be a reasonable. We're still waiting to see, we're still getting off the 180 days to see what happens. But again, that's what it is important. We don't jump to conclusion, ask questions, and you know, then you'll see it. So, no, there's no one size fits all under ADA accommodations or fair housing accommodations. There's no one size fits all. but just ask a question, find out. And so that's why, oh, you only need it if you work more than 8 hours. Well, you didn't tell us that in your, you see? The doctor's accommodation letter didn't say that. You say it just chipping away at the argument, but anyway, and again, it's a reasonable accommodation. It's not always the express one case. Man, you've been great. So, anything else? All right, well, thank y'all very much, and you're not done yet. Thank you. Now, we are, because this is, counts as our annual harassment training, Amanda, do you want to tell them about this so we can scan here?
Yeah, in order to get credit for today, you're going to make sure you scan that QR code, follow the prompt, and then you're good.
Yeah, that would be the line for 200 people, so, paper, like, so, can y'all see that? We tested it, it does scan,